Christmas on Lindbergh Mountain.
Ho, ho, ho!
To all who read these words, may your lives be filled with the fantasy, warmth, and magic of Christmas now and forever. It was Christmas Eve and Santa Claus was coming to Lindbergh Mountain tonight. Kristen and Ryan were very excited. Kristen stood outside of Feeney's department store with her nose pressing the tall, cold glass of the window. Snowflakes blew into her little face as she gazed at the dolls, play kitchens, bicycles, and delightful teddy bears. They seemed to be saying, "Kristen, come in and play with us." Behind the window, she could see Santa sitting in a big chair as a line of children waited to talk to him. Kristen had already talked to Santa 2 days before, but she wanted to visit him just one more time before Christmas came. She had changed her mind about everything she had asked for on her Christmas list. She forgot to ask Santa for something very important. She told herself that she had to change her Christmas list with Santa. She entered the store and got in line behind all of the other excited children. He recognized her from the earlier visit. Finally, it was her turn. When she climbed on Santa's lap, she said, "My brother and I just want coal, Santa. Instead of piles of presents, could you please bring us coal? And Santa, please look very hard for our cabin on Lindbergh Mountain." He said, "But Kristen, you and your brother are very good children. Toys from the North Pole are more fun than lumps of coal. Why on earth would you like me to bring just coal to your house?" She thought about all that she had asked him to bring when she visited him before. She really wanted a puppy, a watch, and a new bike. She thought about last year when Santa left a great pile of presents wrapped in shiny green paper. But that was when they lived on Holly Hill, before she and her family had to move to the little cramped cabin with only an old cold stove for cooking and heating alike. In all of Santa's worldwide travels, no one had ever asked him for just coal. He patted Kristen on her soft, shiny brown hair. "We'll see. You go along now and be a good little girl." Kristen climbed down from Santa's lap and scrunched her little face. She wished as hard as she could that Santa would bring her family coal to keep them warm. As Santa watched Kristen walk away, he felt the warm, reassuring hand of Mrs. Claus on his shoulder. She had been standing next to him. Santa whispered to Mrs. Claus, "Something must be wrong at Kristen's house. She's such a good little girl. Perhaps I will show her the secret of the reindeer this Christmas Eve." Mrs. Claus asked with excitement, "Oh my, will she be the one to receive the secret of the reindeer this year, Santa?" "I must talk with the elves at the North Pole first," Santa replied. "But I think that they will agree that we should show her the special secret. She will be the only one this year." Kristen and Ryan walked in the icy blizzard toward her home. She worried that Santa wouldn't be able to find it. The cabin was so tiny that it was almost obscured by the trees in the village of Lindbergh Mountain. She and her family had moved there because there was no longer enough money to pay for their old house on Holly Hill. She missed her old bedroom with the deep windowsills that were just the right height to sit on. She loved to sit on the soft cushions and read and watch the birds outside. Kristen would snuggle there for hours, sometimes with a cup of hot cocoa. It was always so warm and safe in her old room, even on the coldest days of winter. The cabin was different. It was never really warm. And even though her mommy had worked so hard to make it feel like a home, Kristen wished that she still lived on Holly Hill. She was afraid of the cobwebs and the spiders in the corners of the cabin. The floors creaked, and the winter wind shook the whole place. At night, she could hear wolves outside howling. Her mommy and daddy talked about needing coal for the old stove, and they looked so sad when they read the Christmas list she had prepared to take to Santa. She wanted only 3 gifts: a bicycle, a gray puppy, and a watch. "Kristen, things will be different this Christmas. It's not going to be like it was on Holly Hill," her mother said. I read in the Lindbergh Mountain Gazette that Santa won't be able to find his way to Lindbergh Mountain, but please believe me, the love that we have for each other will more than make up for not having presents. Her father said, "This Christmas, we're going to pay special attention to the mountains of love your mommy and I have for you and Ryan." "Don't worry, Mommy and Daddy," said Kristen. "I know that this is still going to be a wonderful holiday." And it was then that she decided to change her Christmas list. She asked her mother if she could go and see Santa one more time. It was dark by the time Kristen got home. Her mom was stirring a big pot of vegetable soup on top of the coal stove, and her dad had found work that day chopping wood for Mrs. Robbins, who lived in a big, fine house down the mountain. He took his earnings and bought enough coal to last for 3 days. And Mrs. Robin gave him potatoes, onions, celery, and carrots so that Kristen's mom could make a pot of soup. He bought some apples and had just enough money left for a cinnamon stick. The whole family loved to bake apples and sprinkle them with cinnamon. It wasn't a lot of food, but it would taste so good and keep them warm for a few days. With the smell of cinnamon, the little cabin would at least smell like a fine Christmas, like the ones they used to have when they lived on Holly Hill. After having their soup, Kristen and Ryan huddled under a red and green plaid blanket with their mom on the old sofa. Her dad was fast asleep in the chair. A few lumps of coal burned in the stove, for they were very careful to only use a little bit every day to make it last through Christmas. Kristen's mommy saved 2 big carrots and one of the apples to leave out for the reindeer just in case Santa came tonight after all. Kristen snuggled under the covers and worried about what her dad had said about Santa not being able to visit Lindbergh Mountain. She tried to keep her eyes open, but she dozed off to sleep. Close to midnight, a sleigh made of oak left the North Pole. Santa brought many elves and lots of other special helpers along with Mrs. Claus. They flew like a flash of lightning. It was a treacherous trip with bone-chilling air, and the snow fell harder than ever before, but they made it safely to Lindbergh Mountain. They tiptoed from the sleigh, and Cupid, Santa's favorite reindeer, pawed and pawed until the rope that held the old cabin door shut was untied. The sound of ringing and jingling bells made Kristen stir. She thought she heard something moving near the front entrance of her home. A bright light flashed red, green, yellow, and amazingly, all of the colors at once. She pulled her nightcap tightly over her ears so the wonderful dream would continue forever. She heard a scratch, 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 like the sounds of a kitten's paws in a box. The shade on the window moved.
"She's asleep,"
a squeaky voice exclaimed. Hundreds of tiny creatures wearing aprons adorned with the words "Christmas, folks" spilled in and out of the window at once. When the clock chimed 2 a.m., Kristen had been peering at what she thought was surely a dream from behind a door. Ryan was snoozing with a cozy blanket wrapped around him. Her family was all fast asleep. She blinked as a most incredible scene unfolded before her sleepy eyes. Packages were being pulled from a beautiful sack. Bright red paper, foil, flowers, and silver crinkled bows with so many toys. A musical jack-in-the-box fashioned gingerbread cookies that smelled as if they were still baking in the oven. Then a fairy hung the cookies from the ceiling. A porcelain doll stood over a whistling kettle of chamomile tea, while a robot painted the finishing touches on a model ship. She watched with fascination as the elves set up a brand new fireplace next to the tree. Santa himself decorated the tree with candy canes, lacy white snowflakes, and popcorn with cranberry chains. There was holly and red berries filling every nook and cranny of the cabin. Oh, it was a sight to behold. Then there was a crash outside, and more bells rang out. Kristen jumped and ran to the window to look outside. How could her brother, Mommy, and Daddy be sleeping through this? In the bright light of the snow, she saw more than 100 shiny new sleighs covered with jewels and brass bells, all being pulled by horses and gray, cinnamon-colored reindeer. Each sleigh had a name decoratively carved into the wooden side. Kristen could see the names of so many countries: China, Ghana, Canada, Japan, England, Germany, Mexico, and the United States. She saw fairies and elves jumping in the drifts of snow. They were squealing and laughing. They spoke in so many different languages that Kristen had no idea what they were saying. And still, her family slept through the beautiful excitement. The elves had pigtails with red satin bows, glittery gold bracelets, and slippers with silver bells that were jingling too. Their pockets were filled to overflowing with cakes and candy and treats. Bells rang out in the night sky as the mystery of Santa Claus and his visits around the world unfolded. He didn't do it with just one sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. No, thousands and thousands of helpers called the Christmas folks trudged through snowbanks and climbed the vines into her house. This was Santa's secret. The caravan of sleighs had come to Lindbergh Mountain. Santa had shown her a glimpse of what a day was like at his workshop. Suddenly, the room was empty of its glorious Christmas treasures. She ran to where the tree had been standing, then looked over to where the porcelain doll stood over the tea kettle. Kristen saw nothing. They were all gone. She backed up in amazement, blinking her eyes. She was starting to cry. Then she felt something touch her heel. She looked down on the floor. She saw a pair of reindeer antlers and a pile of what looked like the fur of reindeer. She ran to the window, but there was no sign of anyone disappearing over the mountaintop. She must have been dreaming about Santa, the sleigh, the elves, the new fireplace, and the beautiful Christmas tree. But it all seemed so real. Ryan lay sleeping very still. The rope that held the door tight was on and securely fastened. No footprints nor sleigh tracks were in the snow. The moon and stars and wintry night seemed undisturbed. There was no evidence that anyone or anything had passed through the clouds, except for 2 reindeer antlers and a fluffy pile of reindeer fur. The clock chimed 6 a.m. It was the edge of a dawn on Lindbergh Mountain. The church bells rang, but there was nothing that sounded like the bells of elves or ringing in the frosty air. Nothing hurried or scurried around the room. No trace of Santa was to be seen. Had she been dreaming all of these wonderful things? But then she saw a note on the floor next to the fluffy pile of reindeer fur. A blazing fire crackled in the old coal stove, and a most splendid sight appeared. She saw 62 bags of coal and 9 bags of shiny coins, all neatly wrapped in yellow sacks. And there was a note from Santa. The note from Santa read, "Dear Kristen, you only asked for one gift this year, coal for a fire to keep your family warm. The Christmas folks worked extra hard tonight to bring you a sample of the toys that we make at the North Pole. There are 100 toys and gifts hidden here, every size, color, texture, and fabric. When you shake the magic reindeer fur, surprises will appear that you can share with others. Shake once, and a hidden room will open behind the bags of coal. The room will instantly fill with boots, mittens, and winter clothing. Shake twice for toys. A magic door will open, and you will see a room filled with puzzles, trains, games, and dolls. If you shake the fur 3 times, you will have enough food for everybody on Lindbergh Mountain. When you hold the reindeer antlers and say, 'Lindbergh Mountain' 3 times, very softly, you will see lots of pretty balloons flying high in the sky. When the balloons land on Lindbergh Mountain, You will see a message attached to the string of each balloon. Please give a balloon to each child you see. These balloons have messages from Santa. The messages will say things like, "You are very special. You have a pretty smile. I like the funny stories that you tell. I like the way that you look at situations in a positive way. I know that you can do it. You are honest. You are a kind person. I like the way you help with the chores around the house. If you make a mistake, just try doing it another way. You persevere with your schoolwork even when it's frustrating. I like the way you ask for help when you need it. I like the way you solve problems with your friends and your family. Remember to always be fair and square. Remember to keep your promises. I am so proud of you. Thank you for being just the way that you are." My dear Kristen, throughout your life, you will find people in need. Now you will have some of Santa's magic powers to help your family and others by shaking the magic fur. Now tap the fur once ever so gently for a very special surprise. What is a surprise? Well, I will give you a clue. It's something tiny and cute. It is not a puppy, but it is a pet. Love, Santa. P.S. Cupid had a baby reindeer. He's too young to fly this year, so could you please take care of him for us? It's too cold to take a baby reindeer on our trip around the world. I know that your family will give him lots of love. Please think of a name for him. Thanks. For over 500 years, all of the magic and mystery of Christmas has been bestowed upon the marvelous reindeer, and when they shed their fur and antlers, the magic stays within. So Kristen, this year, you are the very special little girl who is receiving the secret of the reindeer. And with that, Christmas on Lindbergh Mountain was the most spectacular Christmas ever.